Hello everybody, we're going to go through our very last lesson of this section with our quiz being the next thing we do, followed by our test. We're going to talk today about lines of symmetry, and our learning target is I can identify lines of symmetry to find symmetry in real life objects. You're going to see symmetry a lot in art. I find students do very well with this lesson because you've had a lot of this in art. I just got a yellow sheet of paper here and I folded it in half and wanted to just demonstrate symmetry to you. And I'm just going to be really kind of random in what I do. I don't know what it's going to quite look like, but if I open up my shape, kind of a cool little guy right here, you can see right here in equal fold it has a line of symmetry, and I can also see that in my shape right here. You can see that line coming through. This is the line of symmetry that cuts an item so that both sides are exactly congruent. All right, so with that, the definition will make sense. Is a figure has symmetry if it can be divided into two equal parts. And in symmetry, you can have multiple lines of symmetry. So notice this parallelogram. You cannot fold this in half. There's nowhere where if you folded it over, you wouldn't have, this is a technical term now, a hangy outy part. If you were to try to divide this in half, like through here, it's not going to exactly match up. This angle isn't going to work. This quadrilateral, however, does have symmetry if you folded it in half. So it has one line of symmetry. This is a rectangle. It's not a square. So it does have two lines of symmetry, which hit right here in the middle and right here in the middle. Kind of like a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You can fold it the hamburger or the hot dog way. Here's an equilateral triangle. It has symmetry, and I'm going to redraw them. There's one line of symmetry right here. Sometimes I do label them like that so I don't forget. There's a second one from this vertex. That's the second line of symmetry. And then there is the third line of symmetry right here. So this one actually has three lines of symmetry. And LOS right here, that's multiple lines of symmetry. I put the O because it represents the word of, so great way to abbreviate. Take a look at this one, pause me, and see if you can find all the lines of symmetry. If you said 2, you are incorrect. Okay? Unpause me when you're ready. So I see the two obvious lines of symmetry are right here, and then across the middle right here. But then I also see a line of symmetry happening on the diagonal, if it's a true square, right here. And I see another line of symmetry right here. So I see a total of 4 lines of symmetry. Big S. I do want to take the time to introduce the term kite. I did see that a couple years ago on an MCA test, and I felt like students didn't know what that was. So I am going to take you off of this view for just a moment and put you on this page and introduce the kite. So a kite, I'm kind of playing with it here, is a quadrilateral with two distinct pairs of equal adjacent, which means adjacent means they meet at a vertex side. So notice that this is congruent to this, and this is congruent to this. In addition to that, the opposite angles across the line of symmetry, which is right here, you can draw a little line, the opposite angles are also congruent. So if you want to draw that definition of a kite, I would be happy to put this website in in the notes. I'll even try to move my camera over if I can do that. There's the URL if you like doing this. Oh, that is not what I wanted. So hang on. Let me go back to our. There we go. I'm going to move my camera over again. So there's our kite. And we talked about line of symmetry. In a kite, you're only going to have one, because unless it's an actual, if this came up and you could divide it long end by long end, that would work. But most kites are only going to have one line of symmetry. The trickiest parts that I see is when you get into shapes that are like an octagon or a hexagon even. You sometimes, in regular polygons with equal sides, you need to make sure you check from each vertice to make sure that if it can or cannot be divided in half. You'll really have to think through that. I've seen some silly mistakes because you've missed some of the diagonals. It can put you off one really, really easily. So I'm going to pop some pictures up here from our book and take a look at some real life objects. Here's a couple of mirrors down here at the bottom. If you take a look at the one with this frame, you're going to have a normal rectangle, and you're going to see here and here you have a line of symmetry. When you look at this one right here, you are going to see that you can divide it in half, and that is going to have one line of symmetry. When you look here, we are including that bird in the picture, and if you were to fold it in any direction, it's going to have 0 lines of symmetry because of the bird, pretty much. Another thing that I'm going to try to have available is boards, and you might have used those in the past, where you have a certain shape on the top and then you need to make it a line of symmetry and make that shape on the bottom too. And you can see how you would do that here, and I will try to have some geoboards set up on the counter for this. In this one as well, what you would attempt to do is use the grid to draw the lines of symmetry based on given half of the side. As half of a side, how would it look if it was unfolded into a full view of the same thing? So this is like the folded piece of paper. This assignment should not be too difficult. You will make silly mistakes if you don't consider the vertices, but other than that, I think it's pretty fun. Look for symmetry throughout art, building, architecture. It's something that our brains love to see. They say that some of the most beautiful people that have existed in the world have the most symmetrical faces. Whether that's true or not, I think that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but artists have depicted faces with a high degree of symmetry, which is kind of interesting. Have a great time with this assignment. There's a little more art involved in this, so some of you might really enjoy this. Come see me if you have any questions at all, and get ready for that quiz, which is next, followed by the test.